So today's session is about creating stories that sell, and we're going to be bringing in some of the really practical tools that you can use to make that happen. Janice, can I hand over to you?
Right, okay, so first of all, what I'd like you to do is move forward. There's some seats in the front because we're going to get you to turn around and have conversations. I'm sorry. I've upset you already. Yeah, so if you can move forward, make sure that you have one of the handout sheets as well. And so we're going to be talking about stories that sell. Can I have the, all right, okay. And first of all, I'd like you to get out your phones. If you know Bev and I, we do like Mentimeter and like to get your views. We are not the experts, you are. What we're going to do is take you through a process, hence the worksheets. And this process is really to help you to really get into the mind of your customers, to help you to get their language and the process that they go through, so that the thought processes they go through, you can get down in a journey, learn from, use that information back at them to enable you to provide a better language, marketing, sales, and revenues. All right, so this is your customer journey, and we're going to give you a bit of an example first of all. So if you've got the QR codes and you've got the Mentimeter, first of all, we'd like to ask you, what is the experience? Describe the experience, just some key words that you provide your customers. Bev, have you got this on here?
Yes. I just have to go on here.
Okay, let's see.
Janice, no, we can't duplicate it.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right, okay. All right.
All right, we've got some lovely words coming out here. Outstanding, adventurous, relaxing, premium, unique. Beautiful words coming out here. Client-orientated, relaxing. See, we've got 7 people in the room. We've got a lot of people here, so let's get as many voices in the room as we possibly can.
What is the experience you want to create for your customers? Fantastic. 13 of you. I can see a lot more than 13 here. We did say you're going to do the work. We did warn you.
There's something very special about gathering a group of professionals together, and something Janice and I both really believe is that there's more wisdom in the audience than there ever is on the stage. Some speakers haven't got that memo, but that's something that we really believe. And your voice here is, how can we learn from each other? You haven't only heard to learn from the stage, you're here to listen to each other as well. So we've got some really, really great language coming out here. Friendly, easy, new experiences, dream fulfilling. Are we selling dreams?
Excellent. All right. Fantastic. So, first of all, I'd like you to think about who is your primary customer. I want you to have a customer in mind, a real person that you have worked with, perhaps your favorite customer. Who is your primary customer? Because we're going to be using that person as an example. So think of your primary customer. For us, we had a primary customer called John James, and we worked through a process with John James. John James has been married for 25 years. He's got 2 children, 13 and 18-year-old. He runs a software business, and because of the security element of his software business, he has security for his family as well. And he wanted to celebrate marking his parents retiring. So we used him as our customer. We went through a process where we completed a customer journey. This is an example for you to take away with you. And a customer journey for this customer. We're going to get you to do a similar process here today, but obviously this is a lot of work. What we want you to do is use this as an example and do this in your teams. So your second is a blank customer journey. So the idea is you take this as an example and you do this in your teams. It's important to think of your entire team when you go through this process, because even the finance will have an idea of the customer that will help to add to a 360-degree view of your customer, the customer you have in your mind. So you need to do it in your teams. There's lots of areas where you can gather information from the testimonials, from their emails. All of that information you already have in your companies on this customer, but often you don't pull it together and collate it. So this is a process that you will take away with you and do in your teams in your company. What we did, this third sheet, we created a worksheet for you. This is the worksheet we're going to take you through in this workshop. So we've pulled out the essential information that we're going to start to fill out here today. All right? So that information is based upon this in-depth information. So for now, what I'd like you to do is to think about your primary customer.
So I think one thing that was very interesting for Janice and I as we were doing this experience is as we started unpacking John James's journey, we realized that it was so much more than just about him. And what emerged for us, and if you will be able to pick this up when you read through the example, is that there were other very important participants in this story. There were his parents who had worked so hard all of their lives, and he really wanted to celebrate that. There were his kids. He doesn't spend enough time with them. He's very, very busy. And what he really wanted was a quality experience to bring them together. And this is actually what he's asked you to do. So when you do customer journeys, it's not one journey. You will have a different journey for each one and say, what do the parents, and even the mom and the dad might want to relax with a glass of that wonderful wine I saw outside, all right, and look over the horizon and enjoy the peace and quiet. Mom might want to spend quality time with her grandchildren. She doesn't get to see them very often. The kids, you've had to take them away from their friends and their world and their life as you know it. What is it that they want out of the journey? And these are the customers, the influencers. Because ultimately, at the end of John's journey, what does he really want? He wants his family to be happy.
So we'd like to take a pause for you to complete the first two boxes here in your journey. Remember I said I want you to have your primary customer, a real person that you work with, perhaps your favorite customer. And if you write down their name and a little description about them in this first box, your primary customer. If you could do that first of all, hopefully you've got pens and something to lean on. So if you put that down now, your primary customer. There's a different generation here, so some people do it on their phones, aren't you? Clever. So, your primary customer, a real person. We're going to go through a customer journey. Do you have a pen? No. Sorry. I think I might have any spare pens around? There you go. Right, primary customer. Have we all got that? Primary customer. Right, then I'd like you to think about who is the real customer? Who is that group of people that primary customer needs to please? In our example of John James, it was his parents His parents are retiring, so he wants to take them away on a trip of a lifetime. It's also his kids as well. All of those customer groups want slightly different things, so you need to think about who is that group of customers, the real customers. It's not just John James, it's that other. So for you, your real customer, who is in that customer group for you as well, if you fill out this second box here. So it's not just your primary customer, it's the group of other influencers, other people that may be in the group that you need to please as well, if you complete them there. Okay? You're ahead of me, aren't you? Excellent. Okay, so nod your head if you've done that. Yeah? Are we there? We're good. Excellent. Okay. So now we want to think of what's important to them. What's important to them? Now, if we go back to John James, now I've given you the scenario of John James. What do you think is important for this group? John James, teenage children, and his parents that are retiring from the farm. Shout out, what do you think might be important to them? Any ideas?
It's important to find, to offer as some kind of entertainment, let's call it, for everybody, to find not everybody together, some things for everybody together, some things for different groups. Like for kids, I don't know the age, but perhaps they want nightlife or they want water sports or I don't, some things like that. Parents probably want to be, left alone and asked as little questions as possible. And grandparents, well, you have to put a crew around them, to make them feel not like they don't belong there. So that's the thing, I would say.
And I think that's a really great point, that the crew is taking 3 generations of people. And so there may be one generation, either side, that may feel out of it, that this is not for them. So it needs to be activities and the crew that really understands they need to bring everyone together and make sure everyone feels included. That's a brilliant, brilliant point. Well done.
What else? What else is important to them? Here we go.
I think if we take a step back, whatever we do, whether it's a vacation or going somewhere, it's about creating a memory together, where in the years to come, you look back and go like, oh, do you remember this moment where in Croatia and this happens? I think this is ultimately what we want to provide for them.
Yeah.
Who else? What else is important to them? There was one thing that Janet mentioned, is that John has a very sensitive job in his industry. All right. He needs to keep safe. What does that mean for us?
There is sometimes there is a controversy between these interests or importances that, for example, the wife is looking for no stress and safety, but the kids are looking for sailor's life and thrill, and the friends are looking for fun, which is not in the same place where the safety. So we need to find a compromise between these.
Very much so. Right, one more. What else would be important to them? It's where everybody chooses a particular area of interest on the ceiling as I come wandering down. Who else? What else is important to them? Have we missed anything? Anything else you can think of?
Okay, well, go for it.
I think they should have fun all together, like to make a program for all 3 generations to have fun. Because fun and the humor, like I heard before, are much of the memories in the future. So something like that, crew should be creative.
Yeah, fantastic. And this is starting to lead into the type of questions that you would ask your customers to identify what those things may be. So what I'd like you to do now is think about the customer that you had in your mind and what's important to them. So your customer in this box on this side, what is important to them? We've talked about John James, but for your customer, what are the perhaps 3 things that you need to be aware of that's important to them? To them as a group, yes. Yes, I mean, you could probably do 20 things, but just for the moment, for this workshop, write down the 3 things that are important to your group of customers. Okay, nod your heads if you're there. We're going at your pace. We good? Yeah? Okay, so if you, again, go on Mentimeter, and we'd like to find out what could get in the way. And we've prepared a few areas. They're not necessarily complete, but we'd like to understand what could get in the way for your customer. What could get in the way? So on Mentimeter, if you go in through the code and see if what we think is also what you think.
It's a slider question, so you would go between what you agree with, from what you don't agree with, what you do agree with, and do each one, and then press submit when you're done. So it will look like that. Each one is an area that you can slide, which could possibly get in the way of us being able to have a fabulous experience for either John Jones and his family, or for your particular customer that you have in your mind. What gets in the way of making it that unbelievable memory that they're going to remember way, way, way into the future?
Oh, interesting. Conflicting family preferences. That's a big one, isn't it? Yeah. Inefficient systems and processes.
Just keep an eye on the numbers there as well,
Yeah.
Janice, so we can get a really nice feel of what's in the room.
We've only got 5. Any more? Let's get a consensus here. What could get in the way?
Looks like we've got 3 strong market leaders heading the way for us there. Do you know what I'm finding really fascinating about this is that the 3 that seem to be coming out quite strongly, although we see it changing as answers come in, is that all of those things are actually within our control.
Yeah.
What gets in the way? Any of these things. Put yourself in the mind of your customer. See their experience through their eyes. What would stop it from being a magnificent experience? Anybody else who's still busy submitting? All right, we've got some strong answers here, and the 2 that come out strongest: poor communication and those conflicting family priorities, having to keep the whole family happy. And what we've seen coming out from responses is both individual activities and joint activities. But could it also be that we need to listen to those voices so we know what it is that they actually want?
Yeah. Yeah. So on your worksheet, there's an area where you can put down for your particular customer what can get in the way of them booking with you or enjoying the experience that they want and desire.
I'm actually keen to hear. I mean, those were just some very generic ones. As you think about your own customers, is there anything that we've missed? Anything else that you think could be something that people really need to be thinking about? What have we missed?
In your experience, there may be other things that we haven't thought about that gets in the way of your customers either enjoying the experience or booking the experience. Yeah.
Sometimes it's health reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially having gone through COVID as well, we have to allow for that so much more.
Yes, or some serious illness that
Yeah.
really,
In families.
yes, gets in the way.
Especially with this, we're talking about the parents, the grandparents as well. Anything can happen. Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else we've missed? There we go.
No, go for it.
I think we can all relate to this. We hire someone or we trust the person to do everything for us, but we don't know all the options out there. So we settle for the options that are given to us. So it's the whole idea of like, they didn't know that there are more out there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that. We didn't know what we don't know. That's fantastic. Anything from the back here? Any thoughts? Anybody over there? Anything that we've missed?
The competition.
Just say that aloud because I know we've got a virtual audience and I'm sure they want to hear as well.
So I don't mean the competition. The competition gets in the way, but not in the mean of another yacht or another charter, but another activity which is challenging. This activity, what John, James, or our customer is going to book or get through, if the family or friends or parents bring out another, and then we are competing.
And you could be quite far down the negotiations when all of a sudden this new thing pops up that you have to, either change or, yeah.
How often have our teenagers said to us, "Oh, Mom, do we really have to do this?"
Yeah.
Let's see if we can keep them happy as well. So, once again, as Janice and I were working through the customer journey, one of the questions we kept asking ourselves is, what is really important for the customer? And if we have a look at all of those voices and listen to it in their language, remember, that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for the story here. A safe experience. A safe experience for my family might be something and safe is not only about security. Safe is also about, are my family protected? Do they feel as if they have people around them so we don't have to worry about our surroundings? It may also be that seamless experience. They don't want to be worrying that you don't have everything under control. They want that experience that just seems like everything works. So what is important? What are the priorities for your customers that they would come to you and say, this is especially important for me? And can you see we've moved from your checklist in your language to the customer and their language? In their language, what is important for your customer?
Yeah.
They need to trust.
Is primary. Trust is definitely primary.
Clients are usually choosing the charter broker who will select the boats for them, the yachts for them. So they need to trust to this person. They need to feel that this person has enough experience, that has been around, that is in the business. So they have to feel like, they're in the hands of the expert. That's one thing.
Wonderful. So I'd like you to start to think about, how does that play out with the customer? How do they know to trust you? What do you need to do? What do you need to say? What do you need to ask them? I'd just like you to start. If that's one of the things that goes throughout the entire experience, how do they know that? How do they know you're trustworthy? Is it a charter mark? Is it something you say? Is it because that you've been recommended? These things are really important because it may be there somewhere, but it's actually not at the forefront. But if it's one of the primary things that it seamlessly goes through, all the way through the relationship, then it may be something you need to be front and center of everything you need to do. Because often we assume, well, they know. But actually, unless we deliberately and intentionally think about, this is the most important element that no one talks about, but we know is in our customer's mind because we're now getting into our customer's mind, then we can actually bring it front and center and just mention it at the front and center of everything we do. So think about what they need to hear, what they need to see, what you need to do to make sure that is embedded in everything you do for the customer. Does that make sense? Yeah?
I think, Janice, where this came out really strongly for us is that we have one line in the customer experience journey that says, what is the language of the customer? And this is where you often find this in your testimonials, in your feedback, as results of the meetings, the conversations you have with your customers. When you look at this language that's on the screen, all right, can you start picking up your customer's story and what is it that they're saying to you? Can you start picking that up? When you see your customer's feedback, what is it telling you? And then how do we step back and say, how do we make that happen? And that's where we go on to perhaps what is one of the most powerful parts of this process. How do you know what your customer is thinking and feeling? Can anybody answer that question? How do you know? You ask questions. Okay. The easiest way to find out what somebody thinks is to ask them. So questions are probably your greatest tool in your toolbox. So now we're going to have a little bit of fun.
Before you say that, what do you feel when you're asked 20 questions? Do you feel enough, right? Okay, so when you're asking questions, what I'd really like you to think about, my mentor said to me, there's only ever 3 questions. Well, you're allowed to ask more than 3, but if you think about, there's often a hierarchy of questions. If you ask one question and you ask it in a way that it's open, it will answer other questions. So you don't have to ask 5, you need to ask 1. But it's the way you structure the questions. So often you need to prepare and think about, is this going to open up their conversation to give you all the information? So again, in your teams, when we're talking about asking questions, it's not just throwing the questions out. It is crafting and constructing an open question that is almost like it's the genie, isn't it? It's the one question that's going to open up, everything else for you. So we're going to go into an exercise, but I'd really like you to think intentionally about the question you can ask. Not the 5, but the one question you can ask that will open up the customer to give you more than the answer to that one question. All right? So it's about crafting an open question.
So if you have a look here, what we have got is the full customer journey. If you go into your customer journey, you'll see these are the names, these are the titles of the columns going down. So we would like you now to get into groups. All right, so we want groups of 5. So I think the easiest thing would probably be, wherever possible, if there are 4 people in a group, turn around and then somebody else join them. And I'm really going to encourage, if you're together, try going to different groups so that you can get different inputs and that sort of thing. So turn your chairs around. So line 1, turn your chairs around. And it would be better if you actually turned your chair around. You'll find it much more comfortable. All right, so we can talk in circles. Just get into basic groups of 5. There we go. Those groups can turn around at the back there. There we go.
If you're 4, it's fine.
And yes.
Whatever you feel comfortable
There we go.
with.
Okay, this is where the energy shifts.
Okay, let's give you the instruction of what we'd like you to do.
All right, so what we would like you to do, I love it when people get it into groups, because this is when the energy in the room just shifts. All right, so we want to give you as much time. Janice, if you maybe just check how much time we have available on there, that would be great. But what we would like you to focus on, all right, so what we would like you to focus on is, if you look on your worksheets, you have a block for each part of the process. Can you, amongst yourself, try and come up with one question that you would be able to ask in any part of the process? All right, just choose one and make sure that you're incorporating everybody in the group. Yeah, one for each. So what would be the kind of questions that would be important for you in each of these categories? So for example, the awareness of need. What do you need to be aware of, and what question would you ask in order to find that answer? It might be, so what is the experience that would be most important? No, that might come later on in the experience. So tell me a little bit about who's coming on the journey. All right? What's important here? What is it that I need to know as we go into the planning of the journey? So start thinking every single part of the process. Is there one question that you would ask? All right.
And
So
share that question with others in the group. That's why we've put you into groups, because you might think, I don't know what to ask in this section, you know, but someone else may have a question that they would ask their customer. So we want you to share it in the group and try and fill out a question for each of these stages of the journey. Is that okay? So you've got about 5 minutes to do that.
all right.
Is everyone okay? We're good?
Janice and I will be roving about, so if you've got any questions, we're happy to come and chat and to help if necessary.
All right.
All right. So the first contact would be when you.
Are you good? You working together?
So that would have been John James. All right.
Your press. I'll let you off. Are you okay?
So the awareness of need would be possibly understanding their journey. So it is a little bit together. Yes, yes. It can be general. Yes,
What would be a question
Yeah.
that would
yes. With a
enable them to give you several
You know, sometimes we do a little
answers
bit of research
together?
beforehand.
Like maybe if you could design, if you could have 3 wishes for this trip, what would they be? So because you've asked them that 3 wishes, they're going to probably give you 3 things now, aren't they?
I think that's
You know,
the
and it's
easiest thing,
unlimited.
because then it
It's
comes
not
a lot more
limited
naturally.
to
Does
that
that make sense?
particular experience where people tend to think of a box. So
That's fun. That's you can do it that way as well. You can do it in any order.
what it could
You're looking
like.
at
Yeah.
yeah.
No, we don't. No.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what?
If you
The
could have
nicest
3
thing is that you don't
wishes
have to do
for
things in
this,
order.
what
So you
would
can
that
say
be?
the experience
You know,
and then let's put it back.
So
don't
you
get-
would.
don't
There's
get
going to be
caught up,
some
you know, yes,
questions
it
where you're going to find out about the group, and some questions you're going to find out about the aspiration. So you might, in terms of the experience,
and let's see what comes.
work your
And if
way
they get-
through,
that's okay.
like think of what, and kind of like share what question you would ask your particular. Do you have a particular customer in mind? Each one of you have a different customer. There's probably going to be slightly different questions. Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. Yeah? Okay. Are you okay?
Do you not want
Yeah.
to form a little circle?
Verbal chart.
Oh, you're from Greece. Okay, all right, great. Okay. So you guys are actually the masters.
Mostly addressing to us. Now, this is very stratified question. We have so many, you know, it's very good to not give us one answer because we have different,
Because you're focusing on the crew.
no,
No?
but everything you are saying is actually what the lecture is intended.
But have you chosen one primary customer? Like, who is the primary customer?
I have him, let's call him John.
John, right? Okay, for that one primary customer, and you know that
He's with me for 15 years.
Okay, right, okay. So if you were taking that type of customer through a journey, what would you need to find out about in terms of his needs?
Who is coming?
Right, okay. You've got to have a primary customer. You're not thinking about every customer. You're not thinking about every customer because every customer is uniquely different. So when you come to a different type of customer, you're going to do a different question. Yeah. So
Because we know how many
Okay. I wouldn't worry about the guys around you. For you, there's probably going to be maybe 10 core customers, maybe, right? But then that's 10 customer journeys. I don't want one customer journey for 10 different types of people. What you're doing is bespoke and personalized, right? So for you to do the work on 10 journeys is not a lot, especially if it's going to give you different, more detailed information about them. Or what we're getting at here is enabling you to construct better questions to get a lot deeper with that customer. That's the point of this, much deeper questioning of that customer. And it could be, rather than say, well, who's in the group, it's like, if you had 3 wishes of who could be in your group, what would it be? I want you to start to kind of push the envelope a lot further than the box they're currently in. So get them to imagine how big it could be. I don't want you to limit it to the experience you had last year. I want you to start to get some questions that will get them to think even bigger for next year. Does that make sense? But you've got to be focused on the one customer group, not on all of them. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Brilliant.
What might be helpful is just think of questions. Don't worry about which box they're in. Think of the questions that will that might be
Yeah, but, okay. You don't need to, yeah. Okay, so what time is it? Yep. Okay. Right. It's wonderful you're having a fantastic time talking to one another. So, what I'd like you to do is, anyone found a killer question, they think, oh, this is a great killer question where it opens up all of the possibilities. Has anyone got a question they think, wow, I really want to share this? Excellent. Well, hold on a moment. No, Bev. Yeah. I don't think it's on. Is it?
Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go on.
So what is your expectation of this trip?
What's your expectation of this trip? It's an open question, isn't it? I wonder if you could just open that up even further, because they could say one thing. How could you construct that question so that they imagine even more?
What is your expectation of your ideal trip?
There you go.
Love it.
There you go.
Love it. That's a high-gain
opens it
question.
up even more, your ideal trip. Because if it's this trip, then it's limited to this trip. But if it's the ideal, unknown, it opens it up even more to other possibilities, right? Okay. Is there another killer question that, yep, here? Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess we've come up with a question, like an opening question, saying, why would you want to go sailing? Why? What is the reason behind it? Why have you chosen this kind of a holiday?
Yeah.
That gives us a lot to find out, right?
Yeah. Has anyone else got something else they could add to this question, do you think? Why? Why is it always a really good question? Because it gives you the foundation, the emotional foundation. So it's always good to have a question with, starting with why. Yeah? There's another one here. Thank you.
Yes, I believe it is really killer question. I have never asked the client, but it could be like this. Why do you think you shouldn't do this?
That is a bit of a killer question. Why? So what do you think the customer will say from that question? What does it open up that you didn't have before?
I think that he will tell me something about his, let's say, how to say, fears, yeah, fears and all these things.
Yeah.
And we can continue maybe just
Yeah.
to and help him to understand better what's happening.
I think that is a great question to ask a customer that's a little reticent, that's reserved. You know, sometimes customers, you think there's more there, but they're not telling me, you know, and you want to open them up a little bit more. That is a good question because you not only get their objections, you get their fears, you get their concerns. So asking a negative question like that can often open up, thankfully someone's asking me, I'm right to be reserved, I'm right to have those objections, I'm right to have the concerns and worries. So by asking that questions, it allows them to open up and say that. So that's great. Thank you very much for that.
Janice, that's a very courageous question.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes asking a question we're scared to hear the answer to is one that gives us our most valuable information.
Yeah.
And what you're actually saying to the customer is, what is it that I can, what fears do you need me to allay? What would you like me to give you? And because it's different language, all right, when you're telling them what they're asking them what they really want, they'll tell you what they really want. They use a different language when they tell you what they don't want. And you can learn so much from that. Can I maybe, any thoughts that you want to add here? Because I can see you thinking very deeply on this. You're okay, too early, cool. All right, okay. All right, so remember that questions are your greatest tool in your toolbox. The more you know, the more you connect with your customer's journey. So let's once again go back to Menti. We've got another question for you.
Right. If you'd like to come out to the groups and turn around, we're not going to go into another group, so just relax yourself. And our next Menti question.
All right. If you're not connected already, let's get connected again so we can really get everybody back in the room. That would be fantastic.
Now, what we've started to identify is some gaps in perhaps what you're doing now that you could be doing intentionally going forward. The type of questions you ask, the way you structure and craft your questions, the kind of language that you're using with your customer and where you get a lot of that language from, and the mindset you have being in the mind of the customer. So what we're identifying is some of the gaps you may currently have in your processes that you can start to fill. So now what we want you to do is think about internally how you're going to fill some of those gaps. Now you've started to identify the things that you're not doing that you might want to start doing. Internally, who's responsible and how you're going to fill those gaps. So if you just answer this question, what could you be doing more internally to align with the customer's either story or journey, gather their language? All right, so if you can answer that question internally, we want to bring it into your businesses, the way that you operate now. Let's start to see some of your phrases come through. Fantastic. More personal stories and detail.
Make it easy for them. I like that.
Yeah.
Clearly understand the purpose. Does that not go back to the why question? Mm-hmm. Why is this important for us?
To answer more than they questioned. So the more you understand the customers almost in kind of intrinsic and the stories that are in their head, the more you can answer those the questions they haven't even asked you. You remember the Apple story, it's all about understanding what your customers' needs are even before they understand it themselves.
I'd really like to just allow us to get as many responses in here as we possibly can. This is where you can share your wisdom. What have you heard, even through the balance of the day, that you're going to go back and say, what am I going to do differently when I go to my office after the summit is finished? Is there anything I want to try differently? Even if it's just one small thing, what would that be?
You will be getting these answers afterwards as well. So, ooh,
There we go.
more below. Look at that. Fantastic. Give simple answers to questions. Make them feel safe and trusted.
There we go.
Fantastic. All right, so much of this information will be in this box here. We want you to identify, this is kind of all of your answers and responses, but there may be some particular things that you want to take forward in your own organizations and companies from the gaps that you've discovered through going through this process.
And I think if you've seen anything here that you hadn't thought of before, make a note of that. Even if it's something that you disagree with that you want to go and think about a little bit more. Let's see whether or not we can do that. So if you can add that to your worksheet so that you have got something meaningful, practical, and just for you to take home. What would that look like?
All right, so let's kind of like wrap up what we've covered here. We've gone through quite a process in starting to create your customer journey. And remember that the journey isn't ending here. The point of these sheets is that you've got an example that you can do in your teams to gather much of the information that you already have in different parts of your business and starting to pull that together. The thing that you need to have in mind is who is your primary customer. That is your starting point. And then once you've got that one primary customer, your favorite customer, the one you want more of, in mind, then start to think about who's in the group with that customer as well. They're your real customers. And then once you've started to go through the journey that they will go on using their language, and this is a great example, then you're going to start to find some insights from how they feel, the language they use. This is the language you would use in your marketing and sales material. But remember, you're not just making this up. You're doing this in your teams, your whole organization's involved in this process. You're looking at the material you already have, the emails, the testimonials. What words do they use? You're gathering that all in for the customer. Then you're taking those insights and bringing that into your company as to what more you can learn, what more you can do for this very important customer.
And I think before we look at our final takeaways, are there any questions? For some of you, this might be a very new approach. You might be thinking, oh, I'm not so sure about this. Any questions that we can take, just a couple, and we can always connect with you afterwards if you would like to explore further. Any questions?
Have you found this a useful process to delve deeper into your customers? Yeah? Yeah? Excellent. All right, so
I think our very last question that we want to ask, sorry, it's not that one there. Should we ask the question? We'll come back to that. What are your 3 top takeaways that you're taking from today? Just 3 short words, phrases. What are you taking away today that is going to make a difference in your customer experience journey tomorrow? What are you taking away from today? Does anybody need the code again? You're all connected? Let me find that instruction again. I'll just quickly go there. There we go.
Code if you need it.
All right, this would be really great if everybody could connect one more time as we finish off. Okay, everybody got the code? Let me go back to the question. There we go.
3 top takeaways. Do you know, this is a process I often do with companies, and they say they understand the customer. We all say we understand. We're dealing with them all the time. Of course we understand. But it's until you really delve in with the one customer and go deep that's where the real insights are. And it can make a massive difference to the way that you talk to and communicate with the customer. It's actually understanding them on a completely different level, when rather than thinking generically of your customer, there are always going to be, you know, the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers. They're the key customers. They're the ones that you need to do the journeys on because you want more of them. In my keynote, I also talked about the return on investment, lifetime customers. Your existing customers should be anything from 40 to 60% of your existing customer base that keeps coming back again and again. And then they recommend an additional 20% to you. It's by doing these customer journeys that helps you to have those kind of metrics in your business because you understand them so well. And the trust that we talked about earlier as well, it's seamless through everything you do in your organization.
So I'll keep this question open afterwards for a while so people will still be able to give, oh yes, there we've got some lovely words coming in now. This is great. They seems to be unlocking now. And can you see that the things you're taking away are very doable? They are all in your scope of control. Can you create this kind of connection with your customer? Because when you do, the experience is just so powerful. So Janice, I think let's take this home. Let's land the plane and just chat about the customer story. What has been the most important thing for you to take away from today?
So I covered in my keynote, sales isn't about selling. It's really about helping the buyers to buy. And we had a conversation about the kind of questions and the way we ask our customer questions. The way we ask our customers questions, actually that helps them to think about, you're a trusted partner, I only want to work with you. And we've had some of our customers from the conversations I've had that have actually said that to us. And I've also said that not everybody is your key customer. Not everyone's going to be your customer. But if you can identify who are that core group of customers, you will never have to look for business again because they are your best sales force. This is your best sales pitch. By understanding your customers and being able to anticipate their needs and uncover the needs that they haven't even voiced themselves. And that's by the kind of questions and really understand what their needs are. Selling is not about selling. Selling is about helping your buyers to buy. Helping your buyers to buy is about understanding them and anticipating their needs. And that's about the kind of questions that you have. And that's about crafting your questions really well. So stories that sell are the stories that are happening in the head anyway. It's happening. We're all talking to ourselves. You're talking to yourselves right here and right now. So you're making decisions about me and Bev and everyone else in the room. That's happening anyway. We're constantly telling ourselves stories. And what you need to do is start to tap into the stories that your customers are telling themselves. And what you need to do is create that enchantment for the customer. Bring home the trust for your customer. Have it embedded in everything that you do so your customers only want to work with you because they feel so comfortable because you understand them so well. The stories that sell are the stories that are in their head that you manage to get out. That's what it is.
And I think, Janice, just to build on that, I think for me there are two important elements here, and it came down to that communication and to the voice of the customer. And in leadership, we have an interesting mantra, and that's start with the end in mind. Think about the story you want your customers to be telling on TripAdvisor, on Google, at the end of their experience. What are they posting on Instagram? What are they saying about you around the dinner table? Think about that story, and then start bringing it back. Is your customer journey leading to a customer story that is going to talk about how much they loved the experience, how you helped them create memories, how you have given them a gift that is far beyond what they thought possible? If you start with that end in mind, you can then go back to your process and say, what in my process could I be focusing on? What questions aren't I asking? What conversations could I be having with my customer that would give me a better understanding of the stories so that our story and their story comes together as one beautiful story together.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. Appreciate your participation. Thank you.